Good day, everyone. I'm Kawthar Omisore, an undergraduate intern at HARLEM Solicitors and a 400-level law student of the University of Ibadan. Today, I'll be speaking on the topic licensing regime in the telecommunications industry. However, before I delve fully into licensing regime in the telecommunications industry, it is imperative that first I lay some foundations, and I shall be doing that by explaining some key terms, namely license 1, telecommunications 2, telecommunications license 3, and telecommunications industry 4. License. License is an authority given to a person upon certain conditions to do some things which would have been illegal or wrongful otherwise. Telecommunication is the method for the transmission and exchange of information via electronic means over a significant distance. That explained, telecommunications license is therefore a license that authorizes an entity to provide telecommunication services and operate telecommunication facility, as well as the terms and conditions for the provisions of such services under the telecommunications industry. While telecommunications industry refers or encompasses multiple service providers such as telephone companies, internet service providers, and more. Foundation laid. Now, here is a quick question. Have you ever asked yourself the importance of licensing in telecommunications, or the chaos, irregularities that are bound to arise if there exist no laws to regulate the authorization of some and not all proposed activities to be carried out under the telecommunications industry? In this article, I will constantly refer to the Licensing Regulations 2019, which is the main subsidiary legislation governing licensing in Nigeria, and the Nigerian Communications Commission, hereinafter referred to as NCC, which is a federal government agency regulating telecommunications in Nigeria. In order to carry out telecommunication business in Nigeria, license must first be obtained from the NCC, as provided in Section 31 of the Nigerian Communications Act, thereafter referred to as NCA 2003, which provides that no person shall provide telecommunication services or operate a telecommunication facility unless authorized to do so under the communication license or exempted under the regulations made by the Commission. Going further, Regulation 9 Subsection 1 of the Licensing Regulations of the 2019 further provides that a licensee who, that is the holder of a license, is prohibited from operating a telecommunication services or facility where it is not expressly stated in the license or where a license has been issued for such services by NCC. However, despite the necessity of obtaining a license in order to carry out a telecommunication business, it should be noted that by virtue of Regulation 8 of the Licensing Regulations 2019, some telecom services or class are exempted from holding a license, as long as it is provided that prior to the issuance of the exemption order, the NCC carry out its work to ensure and assure that the services to be provided and will not interfere or cause harm to the public. Going further, it should be noted that according to Regulation 3 Subsection 3 of the Licensing Regulation 2003, a license is valid until its expiration, and its renewal is only subject according to the terms specified in the license issued. And also, in a situation whereby a license is to be modified, it is the sole responsibility of the NCC to do so. Moving on, it should be noted that generally there are two classes of licenses, namely individual license and class license. Individual license is a type of authorization in which the terms, conditions, as well as the scope and limitations are specific to the service being provided. In other words, you have a situation in which a license is issued to a specified person to conduct a specified activity. Example of activities authorized by individual license includes interconnect exchange, internet services, mobile number portability access, vast access services, and more. It should be noted that a holder of an individual license, by virtue of the Unified Access Services license, is authorized to provide multiple telecommunication services. A good example of an individual license to provide multiple telecommunication services is the telecoms company MTN that provides both fixed and mobile services. Going further, class license. Class license is a type of authorization in which the terms and conditions are common to all license holders. And examples of class license include cyber cafe services. I'm very sure most of us we are familiar and well aware with cyber cafe services. not only cyber services and other services that are being provided. Moving on, it is important that I bring to terms with you the fact that unlike in Nigeria, when licensing in telecommunications industry is of utmost importance and is held at high regards, this is not the same in some countries. In some countries where telecommunications operations have long been privately owned, there exists no licensing telecommunications to regulate the affair. Rather, the regulatory terms and conditions are mostly arrived at regulatory terms and conditions are mostly arrived at orders, decisions, or maybe tariff approval imposed by the government. On a final note, it is no doubt that the telecommunications industry is one of the most important industry amidst all other industries, and as such, there is a need for laws to regulate the authorization of the activities that will be carried out in the industry in order to prevent chaos, irregularities, as well as to protect the interests of the consumers, regulate the market, generate revenues for the government, and most importantly, expand network services in the telecommunication industry. For more educating information on this topic, kindly visit www.harlemsolicitors.com. Thank you.